Since 1974, my next guest has been the host of a live radio program called A Prairie Home Companion. He is also the author of this bestseller right here, Lake Wobegon Days. Please welcome America's tallest radio humorist, Garrison Keillor.
Nice to see you again. Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
That's the better yourself.
That's nice to see you again. Thank you very much. When was the last time you were here? They're snickering at your, or maybe they're not.
The socks aren't long enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll keep my
Now, how would you describe those shoes, though? Those are just running shoes, right?
No, they're slow walking shoes. They're designed for a tall person to keep your balance.
Are they comfortable?
They're comfortable for a guy with a high center of gravity like myself.
You have problems toppling over?
Sometimes I do. Just lean to one side. And not you?
No, I don't topple over. Well, in my youth I did a couple of times. Lake Wobegon Days, is it number 2 this week?
It's settled down number 2, yes. It was up at number 1 for a while, and it got dizzy, and it felt guilty at number 1. It's a Midwestern book, and we don't feel right on top.
Yeah, you shouldn't be up there.
No.
Make a spectacle of yourself.
That's right.
Now, can I ask you a question about how many copies sold does it take to get to be number 1 on a bestseller book? Is it?
It depends. It depends what else is out there. Right now, there's a novel out about Texas. So, in order to be number 1 right now, you would have to pretty well deforest the state of Maine.
That's a lot of books.
That's a lot.
So Texas, Texas is really moving pretty well. That's James Michener, Texas.
Yep.
Last week it's only been on the list 2 weeks.
It just shot to the top.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And how many books would that? Can you give us a rough idea what we're talking about here for this guy? Is it 1 million, 500,000, 20,000?
Well, I don't count just books sold. I count books read. You see, now I'm in the business of writing books for people to read.
Yeah.
And all the people I've talked to have actually gotten to the end of this thing with very little pain. I don't.
Now, wait a minute. So you're suggesting that while Lake Wobegon is number 2, number 1 is largely unreadable?
I wasn't going to get into naming names, but there is a book out on the market which is named after a major state of the Union, which a lot of people have bought under the impression that it is a novel, but they will find out that it is a course in history thinly disguised as a novel in which the main character is a committee. Now, that's hard going. That's tough going.
So you wouldn't find that one on your nightstand, then?
No, you would find it on my nightstand. That's exactly where I'd put it.
All right. Well, now that you brought it up, let me ask you about a couple other entries on here. By the way, you've been on the list 8 weeks, and you're right there, number 2, an enviable position for everybody else.
I want to get down about number 5 or 6.
Okay.
I'll feel good there.
Oh, you feel better at 5 or 6?
Feel better.
All right. Well, let me ask you about the current number. Do you know anything about Contact, the Carl Sagan book?
Carl Sagan. He's an astrologer, isn't he?
And I think.
Doesn't he have a column in the Daily News?
Yeah, I think he and Joyce Gilson read a column, and it's syndicated around the country.
Why are we saying these terrible things about?
No, wait a minute. Let me ask you about number 4 here.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Oh,
Jackie Collins.
Jackie Collins. I shouldn't really talk about her because I've only read her book standing up in bookstores. Just brief periods towards closing.
Towards closing.
Towards closing. I do think there's something on the cover of her book, though, that comes off on your fingers. I don't know, you can't see it here, but it's a lurid color. And so the people who pick up her book ought to be ready to go through the next 2-3 years of their lives being known as people who read Jackie Collins.
Indelibly marked, then.
I think, yes.
Yeah. Now, do you go into bookstores when you have a book out? Do you go in to see how it's doing, make sure the display is all right?
I like to tidy up the display a little bit. Sometimes other authors will go in. It's like bread salesmen. You know, they'll grab the other guy's bread and they'll put finger holes in it and stuff. Other authors, well, they do. They step on competing loaves of bread when they're on low shelves. And other authors will go in and turn a guy's book around, you know, so that just the jacket, the photograph is facing out. And in my case, that's not the strong suit of the jacket. So I like to get a nice display and get some horizontal copies there.
In your opinion, is it important to have people gathered around a book display?
I think so, even if it's only the author.
Yeah.
I think for the customers to see somebody picking up the book and just thumbing through it like I'm doing right now, excuse me.
Yeah.
And looking at it with interest and even getting engrossed in it. I try and do that as often as I can.
Perusing in a satisfied manner. Yeah.
Chuckling, maybe.
Now let's talk about Lake Wobegon itself. How, for people, the uninitiated, how would you describe the community?
Well, it's the town where I'm from. It's a town in Minnesota. It's a town where...
A progressive area?
Progressive in the sense, you mean, of moving forward and looking towards the future? And, and being young and
vibrant?
Advancing?
Yes.
No. It's a wonderful place to be from and to go back to, especially now, right around the holidays.
Yeah.
And,
I can almost smell that turkey from here, can't you? And what is is it a melting pot? Is it Anglo-Saxon in origin? Is it, what is the makeup of the townsfolk?
They're mostly guys like you and me.
Really?
Yeah, like us. Tall white people of a kind of an Anglo, a kind of a vague Anglo-Northern European bent, persuasion.
And how was that growing up with? Were you able to deal with the burdens that brings?
No, I think there's a problem of pleasure coming from a town like mine. We weren't used to it as children, and so it's time now to get to where I enjoy it. I don't really
Deep
down.
No. You don't enjoy pleasure.
It's a problem, yeah.
You suffer from anhedonia.
Is that what it is?
Well, it might be, sure.
I wish you'd told me that 20 years ago. How do you spell that?
Geez, I don't know. Alba would know. Talk to Alba. See Alba on the way out. She would have an idea.
All right.
So things are going along quite nicely for you? You doing the show on the road still?
Things are going along nicely, and it makes me uncomfortable. And so I'm looking to get myself into trouble in some way.
Well, you're certainly in the right city for that.
Right.
It's #2 on the bestseller list again this week. Lake Wobegon Days. The author is Garrison Keillor. Nice to see you again, Garrison. Thanks for your time, sir.
This is a promo announcement to remind you about Dave's Holiday Film Festival this Saturday night. Kind of sneaky, isn't it?
Okay, my thanks to everybody here in the studio audience. You were terrific as always. Also, Garrison Keillor. Nice to see you again. Stephanie Zimbalist and Alba Ballard. For heaven's sakes, drive safely over the long holiday weekend. Good night.